What is up, YouTube? Today we're going to be... Kitty, be quiet, buddy. Today we're going to be watching a video that Charlie just made about what he's been watching. I know he's had COVID, so let's see what he has been up to while he's had COVID.
Yeah, obviously
Let's
there's
see.
shows worth watching. There's so many shows that have come out recently, some bad, some good. I'm just gonna give you a full breakdown on everything I've been watching. I had COVID for like 2 weeks, so all I did was watch shows and movies, so I'm all caught up on everything. Even My Hero
I
Academia,
think two
I am
weeks, he
all caught
says.
up on. So I'm just gonna give you a full breakdown on what's good, what's bad that's being aired right now. Let's start with the bad. Rings of Power. I don't know why I tried to catch up on this. This
Haven't
is like
watched
the
Rings
only
of
show I'm not
Power.
caught up on.
I'm not really sure if I would want to. I mean, honestly, I loved The Lord of the Rings. I even liked The Hobbit. I mean, I think they could have probably taken an hour out of The Hobbit. I think The Lord of the Rings, though, was a great trilogy. The Hobbit was really too. I mean, I know a lot of people didn't like the third one, but I really enjoyed all three of them. They were a bit long though, kind of hard to stomach to sit down and if you're on the fence.
Because it's just too boring. The most exciting part of trying to catch up
Boring.
on Rings of Power was when I'd have like a coughing fit. At least then I'd be awake. Rings of Power is a hypnotic trance that it puts you in of just lame dialogue that's just circular trauma dumping between characters. That is still not
Oh, nobody likes a
changing.
trauma dumper.
So I am not invested in that at all. I don't think I'm going to bother catching up on it. We'll see. If I was forced with a gun to my head to give a compliment to Rings of Power, I would definitely say that Sauron is the best part. Like, if I was to fish for something positive about it, I would say Sauron.
Sauron's
I
always the
don't
best
think
though, right? I
the
mean,
writing
he's
around
always the
Sauron
most
is all
evil.
that great, but I think the actor does a good job with the character. So when Sauron is in a scene,
Him and the
he
orcs.
is
The
usually
orcs
the
they do
best part
have done a
of
pretty
that
good
scene.
job
And
making
also
them
the
look
only character
disgusting.
that's actively moving things forward, while as every other character wants to exist in fucking stasis of just fucking calling the wambulance and ordering some french fries and a wham burger. Everyone's just always complaining or talking in circles around something they're not happy with. It's just not interesting. It is so deflating
Sorry for that noise.
watching
I
Rings of Power.
think my
What it
cat's
did
taking a
do for me
crap.
though is it motivated me to go back and watch the Masterpiece trilogy. The Lord of the Rings trilogy still holds up so well. It is actually timeless. I watched the extended versions because I've never actually seen the extended versions.
I don't think
Masterpieces.
I've seen
I
the
know
extended versions
everybody
either.
says that. I get it. That's not like a brave new take or anything, but it's true. And I do have a hot take for you. I didn't remember how much ass Frodo sucked. Frodo is
Frodo sucked ass? I don't know about this.
a turbo dweeb. So, watching Fellowship of the Ring, let's start there. There
I
is
mean, he
at
was
least
weak,
20 separate instances of Frodo falling flat on his
strong in
back.
heart,
All the
weak in
time. Like, almost every scene
body.
Frodo's in ends with him getting goddamn tomato canned and falling backwards. He puts on the ring, whoop, slips on like a banana peel like it's
I do
Mario
remember
Kart
that
and
scene where
falls
he's like,
flat on his back. It happens so many times. Frodo is useless. Like, I know he's not useless. He's the
yeah,
ring
definitely not
bearer,
useless,
but
but
man, every scene he's in, he just
he's a
falls.
damsel
He's
in
like
distress, I
slapstick
would say,
comedy. He's like
always.
Buster Keaton for the Lord of the Rings universe. He is constantly slipping and falling. Like, it's not even that he's being pushed to his limits or anything. Sometimes he's just like kind of jogging around, fucking waddling, and then whoop, just falls. Like, there's a scene towards the end of Fellowship of the Ring. He's got the ring on. He evades Boromir. I'm sure all of you remember the scene. Then he's up on that tower, takes the ring off, and falls again. I was actually getting kind of frustrated. I feel
Sound
like
like
the
he just
extended
got
versions
kicked
is
in
just
the
more Frodo falls.
gonads.
It's like watching Chive TV at the gym, where you just see like people falling doing stuff. That's like
Remind me of the scene from Home. I think it's Home Alone 3, where the guy gets electrocuted. And he's like, "Oh!"
Frodo's whole role in these movies. Of course, it's not his whole role.
Yeah,
Obviously, he's
Frodo is a
bringing the
goober. I
ring to
mean, let's be
Mordor,
real.
and I get it and
Always
everything.
needing
Like, he's
saving,
not
but
supposed to be some kind of adept fighter or anything. And his lines are good. Like, the writing
great
around Frodo is
character.
good. I just wish he was able to do more. Like, kind of like Sam and kind of like Merry and Pip. Like, they actually do engage in like a combat scenario. So like when they're in Moria, for
Yeah, I do remember
example,
Sam going
Sam, Merry, and Pip, they
doing
all
some sword
like
fighting.
fight against the threat.
Ryan
Frodo
too.
runs and falls every time, and then he gets stabbed. But luckily he was wearing Mithril, and he's like, "No, I'm unhurt." But it's like, Frodo, why did you fall then? He was actually playing dead. It's like, come on, man. Like, I wish he had been able to do more besides fall. But he is, of course, one of the most important characters in Lord of the Rings for good reason. It was just going back and watching these.
Of
I was like,
course.
Jesus, I don't remember him
You got
being so
Frodo, you got
clumsy.
Sam.
I've already
I think
gone way off
Gandalf.
the
I mean,
path of
Gandalf's
like
my favorite.
what's
I like Gandalf
airing
just
right
for
now
the
that's
same
not good.
reasons.
But since I'm talking about
I like Gandalf for the same reasons as I like Dumbledore. You know, reliable guy. You know, if you got to rely on him, you don't have to worry really. I mean, he's always going to save you for the most part. I mean, Gandalf.
movies, I will tell you a movie I watched recently that's very good. Late Night with the Devil. I had heard a lot of hype around this movie for the
I
last.
don't know what's Late Night with the Devil. In 1977, a live television broadcast goes horribly wrong, unleashing evil into the nation's living rooms. Oh, that sounds kind of interesting. Oh, this is the guy from. This guy was definitely in Batman, in The Dark Knight. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
4 or 5 months, finally decided to
Sounds kind
watch
of
it.
cool.
Great movie. Actually, a really unique horror movie. I don't think it's necessarily like a very scary film by any means, but it's a very well shot and a really great concept for a horror film done super well. I will say the ending, I like the ending, but the visuals kind of fall apart a little bit. It looked like an
I'll have
old
to put this
80s
on my list
movie
of
in the
watching.
end, which that's going
Looks
to
pretty
work for some
cool.
people, doesn't work for others. For me, I was kind of caught in between because I don't want to give any spoilers, but they use like electricity as part of the ending moment, and I think it just kind of made it look a little cheap towards the big climax finish. Otherwise, though, I think this movie is one of the better horror movies I've seen in recent years. So
Wow,
I
that's.
do highly
I know
recommend
he
checking
watches
out
all
Late
the
Night
horror
with the
movies,
Devil for
so
anyone that likes horror
I should
movies.
take that
I
as
still need
a
to watch
good sign.
First
I should
Omen,
watch
and I
it.
still need to watch Substance. Those I'll be watching soon. Now, back to things that are airing that are bad. The Rick and Morty anime. I already talked about it. I
Oof.
said I was going to stop watching it. I
Ooh.
lied. Tried to catch up. I watched an additional episode. Dropped it again. It's still terrible.
I've heard that
It's still
one's really,
absolutely
really
horrible. I
bad.
think that is an unwatchable show. That is a stain on animation. There is not a single thing.
I've never understood this part with this Rick and Morty anime. So it was already an animated cartoon, and they needed to make a like Japanese style anime. That's, I mean, what's the difference really between an animated show and anime? I mean, other than the style of the animation, really. I mean, and I just don't see the. It's not a big enough change to warrant a whole new series with different. And honestly, I mean, that show didn't have a chance after Justin Roiland, you know, got canceled or whatever, which maybe he deserved, maybe he didn't, but it didn't stand a chance after that.
Thing I like about it. If there was a gun to my head forcing me to find a compliment, I'm eating lead. Like, I actually could not fish for a single nice thing to say about this show if I was guaranteed
I might
$1
have to
billion
watch one episode just
eke
to
out
see.
something almost construed as positive.
It almost sounds
It's not possible. I think the show is
funny
absolutely
bad.
atrocious. Like, I'm
Atrocious.
struggling to find more descriptive words to showcase just how horrible the show is to watch, and I'm at a loss. It is one of the worst animations I've ever seen. I do think it is up there with Velma. That's a question I get asked a lot. Is it worse than Velma? I think it maybe is on par with Velma. It actually looks worse than
Man,
Velma too.
Charlie's an American hero. You know, he watches all of these shows like Velma, Rick and Morty show, Rings of Power. Probably has watched House of the Dragon too. I mean, all of those shows are pretty universally hated, I would say. I mean, I guess he makes sure that he sees the good stuff too by watching everything, but wow. Hey, kitty. That's pretty insane. Hey, buddy.
There is just nothing to like about the Rick and Morty anime. Those are the only shows that I've been watching, well, was watching, that are bad. Now let's get to the ones that are definitely worth watching. The Penguin. So it's only 2 episodes deep right now, but I am
Two?
really, really liking it. I think Colin Farrell does an unbelievable job with this
There's
character.
2 episodes?
So
I watched
good.
episode
If I
1
didn't
on
know that was
Saturday.
Colin Farrell,
I'll talk about the Penguin for a little bit. That was a great episode, the first one. I haven't seen the second episode yet. I probably will. Just as soon. I didn't know what day it comes out on or anything, so that's pretty hyped to know about. I'll have to watch that probably tonight or tomorrow. Yeah, the first episode was really good though. I mean, Farrell does great, and I noticed the actress that plays like a, I'm assuming she's some kind of Harley Quinn type chick, something like that. Yeah, I mean, apparently she went to Arkham or something, so she must be crazy. And yeah, she's in Fargo. Great actress. Loved her in that, and she's pretty good so far in this as well.
I would have never guessed. I would have said, "Wow, this is a superstar actor that has just been born." But it's a superstar actor that was born many years ago, absolutely crushing this role. The Penguin is incredible. Even if you don't like Batman, if you haven't seen the Batman, whatever, you don't like it, I think you'll probably end up liking the Penguin. It's just so well written, and I love
It
that they
is.
keep presenting Oz, the Penguin, with like these impossible scenarios. Like you are constantly asking yourself, how the fuck is he going to get out of this with his head still intact? Like Jiminy Christmas, within the first 10 minutes of episode 1, he executes the most important character that gets introduced. And it would be very obvious that it was Oz that did it. Like, he has just killed the new Falcone. And it's a big deal.
That was pretty
And
sick. I
they
mean,
immediately
I
connect
think he
that
deserved it, right? I
it was
mean,
probably Oz that did that, and yet somehow
yeah.
he's
He seemed
able
like he
to
was
figure out
on
an elaborate solution to that
drops,
problem where
as they call him. I
they
guess.
don't suspect him anymore, and in fact, it actually works out really well for him. He looks really good. And it's not like a bunch of ass pulls or anything. It is so smart with the way it executes it, at least in
Yeah,
my
I like the
opinion.
plot in that so
I also
far. I
just
mean,
think
there were
the
some
Penguin
twists.
as a character
Yeah,
is really
it
entertaining.
wasn't
Like,
predictable.
I was giggling. It's not a comedy show by any means, but I was laughing more in this show than some shows that aim to be a comedy. Like, I just think they
Yeah, I could see
really
that.
did a great job with Oz. He made me laugh. He's a
I honestly didn't
terrifying
know the
character, too.
penguin's
He's
name
not
was
afraid to
Oz.
just kill people in cold blood. And he when he does it, like there's a greater purpose to it. It's just such a good show. Episode 2 continued this trend of putting him in a situation where it seems impossible for him to get out alive. Yet, not only does he find a way to get out alive, he finds a way to get more powerful from it. He has just these really elaborate, well thought out schemes that are executed to perfection. And it's such a treat to see. And it's more than just like conniving and planning and plotting and all of that. There's action too, and I think the action is good. It's not, you're not going to have the Penguin going out there doing martial arts to take down someone. He's not going to go out there doing
Dude, the
Muay Thai
penguin,
and
dude,
Wing
he got
Chun to like execute a man.
he got
He's
messed
gonna
up
shoot them, or he's going
He's
to
cooked.
stab them. So it's not
as
like
far as his
like,
leg
don't go in there
goes.
expecting like
Cooked.
crazy choreography or anything like that. But it's still really good in the action department. At least to me, it is because it's used so well. I just really like the Penguin so far. I am a huge fan, and I'm really excited for the next episode. Another show that came out just recently that I think is already worth watching is Uzumaki. This one's had a lot of hype for a long time.
I haven't heard of
Junji
Uzumaki. What?
Ito.
What is that? I don't even know if I could spell that. Uzumaki. Japanese horror manga series written and illustrated by Junji Ito, appearing as a serial in Shogakukan's weekly seinen manga magazine, Big Comic Spirits, from 1998 to 99. Oh, so I guess they have a new mini TV miniseries. Okay, cool. Huh.
I'm sure most of you are
I like
familiar with
manga.
that name. And it's finally here. There's one episode, and I think it's good. Like, I think it's very good. I don't think it's perfect. Like, there are some things I think could be improved. It moves really fast, but I guess that's because there's not a ton of episodes, so they gotta move fast. But I think it's a good show. It's a unique looking show, too, so I definitely think that's worth watching. And this one's going to be a surprise to most people, considering how hard I've shit on this show for years. My Hero Academia Season 7, I actually think is worth watching. Let me peel apart the layers of this onion here to
I'm
explain.
not sure if me
The
and
biggest problem with My Hero, the one that
Charlie's
I've always stated is the biggest problem, is that it always focused on the
tastes
most boring
line up
elements
too
of the
well,
show.
but
They'd give you some very high highs.
I do like Penguin. I like the original Rick and Morty.
And then they'd immediately kill their own momentum, shooting themselves in the asshole by making you fucking sit through another provisional licensing exam.
My Hero
Or
Academia.
some other, like, school music festival.
To check that out.
Something very few people are going to care about unless you really love Slice of Life. And it always drilled home the exact same message every time, where it's like, these are my friends. I like my friends. I fight
There's
for
a
my
lot of
friends.
shows
I'm a hero.
that I just. It's like, how do you find the time to watch them, and how do you? I guess it's just my Attention deficit disorder. No, but I just feel like it's for me more easy to just go on YouTube, watch 3 or 4 videos. Like I could watch one about a natural disaster, or I like to watch the hurricane documentaries. I like to watch some gaming content, news, opinions, and then I can watch some real news, something keep up with the election, all kinds of things. Yeah, and the streaming services, I just don't like to pay for those anymore if I can help it. On a side note, too, Verizon's taken away my Disney bundle, and I assume they're going to try and charge me the same amount. So we'll see about that. But yeah, I probably won't have Disney Plus or ESPN Plus unless I want to pay $18.99 for it, and Hulu too.
For my friends. And it does that a million fucking times. But the show had always been able to deliver some very good moments early on, and then just lost its footing, fell off. But I do think season 7 is hype. And I think it's because they cannot focus on anything.
All right, there's a good reason why I probably haven't watched it. My Hero Academia 7 seasons in. I mean, granted, I started watching Game of Thrones when they were on their 7th season, and then I watched the 7th season. This is pretty insane. I watched the 7th season, then I started over, rewatched the whole thing, and watched through to season 9 or 8. Is it 9? I can't remember. I loved it though. I wasn't hooked after the first episode. I watched the first episode probably 3 or 4 times. So it's the first season though is enough to hook you.
Accept the good stuff anymore. There is only the good stuff left. They can't go to a music festival now and dedicate fucking 12 episodes to it or whatever. Now it's all about this fight. Stopping All for One. Stopping Shigaraki. Coming up with a plan in the face of insurmountable odds to defeat
Some of those
these
words
villains. And it's good. It's flashy. It looks good. The fights are well animated. I do think the fights get a little sloppy though, especially when it was like Stars and Stripes versus Shigaraki. Super cool character.
I don't know what's up with that. What does that mean?
Her quirk was only utilized a couple of times, despite it being probably one of the strongest quirks we've seen introduced. And the fight was really only like maybe 2 minutes worth of actual action, and then it was kind of just monologuing from each side. So it is guilty of doing that, but to a lesser extent than it had been. And since that fight, I do think the other ones have had a lot less of that. So, like, when Deku finally starts fighting Tamura Shigaraki, he throws out quite a few attacks before a monologue happens. It's My Hero. You're guaranteed monologues mid-fight. It's like the tropiest, like, cliches ever. And it knows
Tropius is a Pokemon
about it. I don't think it's that big of a deal, as long as everything else around it is also good. And so far in Season 7, I do think that it is. So I'm definitely enjoying this season a lot more than previous seasons, and hopefully it has a strong conclusion. Those are the main shows that I've been really enjoying so far over the last, 2 weeks. And I just figured I'd share, because I've been watching so much shit. So I just wanted to give you a quick little breakdown on some of it. That's really about it. So yeah.
Gosh, yeah, I mean, I haven't had COVID that I know of, but I can imagine it's pretty painful, and maybe not painful in the physical sense, but just, you're just like feeling dead for so long. Yeah, that's a pretty good video. I've watched Penguin. I haven't watched a couple of the shows that he's watched, but maybe I'll have to check him out now that he's, given a couple of them good reviews. I'm definitely going to watch that horror movie. This one, Late Night with the Devil. That looks pretty dang good. So I have to check that on out. And thank you for watching. Thank you to Penguin Z0 for his video as well. And till next time, it's been SuperRigs.